So in the 2010s, Marvel Comics struck gold with the character of Spider-Gwen, so in 2015 they made a bunch of variant covers featuring Gwen versions of popular Marvel characters, with one of them being a Deadpool variant titled Gwenpool. This specific cover was a breakout smash hit with fans, so they decided to make the character a reality with their own comic series. There was a catch, as they didn't want this character to be connected to Gwen Stacy or Deadpool's mythos. Some have speculated this was because of companies like Sony and Fox running around with the movie and merchandising rights for those characters, which is likely, but no matter the reason, this singular restriction was a big positive of the character, as not only could she have her own identity, but she could easily appeal to new readers who just thought she looked neat. Gwenpool as we know her initially debuted in backup issues of Howard the Duck, later being collected into a zero-issue issue where she gets into misadventures with the Duck, along with explaining that she was isekai'd into the Marvel Universe and decided to become a mercenary out of defiance, refusing to become just an extra in this superpowered world. Since she knows this is a fictional world, she treats everyone here like dolls and playthings to entertain her, but as her solo series begins proper, she quickly becomes humbled due to her reckless behavior having actual consequences, getting her guy in the chair and her friend Cecil killed by MODOK, who she henchmans for soon after. Gwen also teams up or comes in conflict with various Marvel Universe figures throughout the 25-issue run, like Miles Morales Spider-Man, Jane Foster Thor, Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, and more. A cool trend I like about these team-ups is they involve younger and more diverse legacy heroes that someone around Gwenpool's demographic would vibe with more than the older heroes. I'd even say there's some signs to imply that Gwen got into Marvel Comics from the MCU, which, while not common, is very likely for a teenager her age at that 2015-2018 timeframe. Either way, it's a great sampling of these characters while still letting the main story breathe, making this oddly esoteric concept for a character one of the most accessible Marvel Comics in the last decade. Though my favorite team-up in the series is the Deadpool one, for how Gwen admits she doesn't actually like Deadpool because his Mimi side is a bit too much for her, which is not only funny given her inspiration, but makes sense for a comic fan. Though the two ultimately come to a mutual understanding for each other in their own silly little way. As for Gwen herself, while she's very eccentric and fun, it all comes with a fatal flaw. She initially believes, just because she's in a fictional universe, that there's no consequences for her reckless actions, especially being a main character, but as the end of the first issue showed, that way of living is going to screw her over constantly. Yeah, the world she's living in has a bunch of tropes that rule over it, but that doesn't mean audiences like her don't end up caring about these characters and what happens to them, good or bad. I loved how they tied in the meta isekai story aspects of the character back to her personality, something that many fourth wall breaking characters don't quite achieve. Speaking of isekai elements, there's a fun bit towards the end of the comics run where, because Gwen is in the comic universe herself, she hasn't read the comics in a bit, which led her missing the event where Doctor Doom becomes the infamous Iron Man, which is another example of the many ways this series messes with the metatextual concepts of comic book superheroes. The final few issues especially really explore these dynamics in surprisingly emotional ways. Legit, the final issue of Gwenpool is one of my favorite final issues of a comic of all time. Such a fast-paced yet emotionally rewarding payoff, with great commentary on how these characters and stories will live on beyond their initial series, acknowledging the scary or bright future of what that could entail. I love the unbelievable Gwenpool. It's probably my personal favorite Marvel comic of the 2010s. Gihiru's cutesy artwork defined the look of the character for me and so many others, and it's always a joy to see the duo tackle other Marvel characters in the team-up issues, and Christopher Hastings' writing balances charming comedy with heartfelt drama expertly. Well worth your time to track down and read.